Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Beyond the Gates channel. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe and hit like for more daily drama updates and spoilers. Your support truly means a lot and helps our channel grow every day. Nicole's heart had become the quiet center of a storm, and as another unforgettable week unfolded in Fairmont, Crest, every conversation, every lingering glance, and every unexpected reunion seemed destined to pull her in a different direction. While she found herself spending more and more time with Keel, an easy companionship was slowly growing between them, one that felt comforting yet uncertain. But just as she began settling into this new chapter, the shadow of her past refused to stay buried. Carlton was preparing to step back into her life, and the truth about Nicole's tangled emotions would soon be impossible to ignore. Around them, old wounds reopened, hidden secrets threatened to surface, and dangerous plans quietly gathered momentum, proving that no one's future was as secure as they believed. The week began with Andre wrestling once again with the mystery that refused to leave his mind. The anonymous gift Danny had received in the mail continued to trouble him, lingering in his thoughts like an unanswered question that refused to fade. Before long, Pamela called and asked both of them to meet her at Uptown, and neither of them expected the life-changing announcement waiting there. Pamela revealed that renowned journalist Tia Allen wanted to interview Danny, an opportunity that promised tremendous publicity but also came with one significant condition. Tia intended to interview everyone connected to Danny's life, and as the excitement settled over the room, Andre's expression grew noticeably uneasy. Privacy had always mattered deeply to him, and the thought of opening every chapter of his life to public scrutiny made him visibly uncomfortable despite everyone else's enthusiasm. Elsewhere, another unexpected encounter unfolded as Vanessa and Heather cautiously sized one another up. Heather initially concealed exactly who she was, carefully choosing her words while allowing the mystery surrounding her identity to linger. Only after building that suspense did she finally reveal the truth, leaving Vanessa quietly suspicious despite maintaining her composure. Even so, Vanessa extended a warm invitation, asking Joey's sister to join her for dinner. Heather appreciated the gesture but regretfully declined, explaining that London was calling her back and she simply couldn't stay. Though the exchange remained polite, an unmistakable tension lingered beneath every smile, suggesting their paths were far from finished crossing. Across town at the country club, Martin experienced a moment that caught everyone around him completely off guard. A seemingly ordinary comment from Anastasia unexpectedly reopened emotional scars that had never truly healed, instantly transporting Martin back to the traumatic events he had endured with Vernon the previous summer. The painful memories overwhelmed him before he even realized what was happening, and his emotions exploded in a way he later deeply regretted. Once he managed to regain control, Martin sincerely apologized, knowing Anastasia had unknowingly stepped onto ground far more painful than either of them realized. Even with the apology accepted, the encounter reminded everyone just how fragile old trauma could remain, no matter how much time had passed. The emotional currents of the day shifted again during what should have been an enjoyable game of pickleball between Martin and Smitty. What began as harmless fun quickly turned into concern when Smitty suddenly sprained his ankle. Without hesitation, Kyle rushed to help, immediately stepping in to support him before taking him to the hospital for x-rays. Fate seemed determined to bring several storylines together under one roof because Naomi happened to be there as well. She had come carrying a thoughtful gift for Ashley, wanting to thank her for standing beside her throughout Jacob's absence and for offering unwavering support after the emotionally exhausting BRCA gene test results. In a place usually associated with fear and uncertainty, their quiet friendship offered a rare reminder that compassion could still shine even during life's most difficult moments. Meanwhile, Nicole and Ted shared one of their most honest conversations since their lives had taken separate paths. Ted openly spoke about his growing relationship with Shanice, and although Nicole admitted it felt strange knowing the man she once loved had fallen in love with someone else, there was no bitterness in her voice. Instead, she genuinely expressed happiness for the new life he was building, proving how much both of them had grown. Ted, however, couldn't resist turning the conversation toward Nicole's own complicated romantic situation. He gently praised Carlton, subtly questioning why Nicole seemed to be spending so much of her time with Kiel instead. Though his comments crossed a line, Nicole allowed him to speak freely, and by the time their conversation reached its conclusion, they had both agreed to continue rebuilding the friendship that once seemed impossible to recover. As another day dawned, Uptown became the setting for heartfelt conversations and long-awaited reconciliations. Naomi met Chelsea to discuss the painful distance that had developed between Chelsea and Kat, while also opening up about her own growing disagreement with Danny over the emotional weight of the BRCA gene situation. Naomi admitted that Danny had wisely chosen to give her some space, but she couldn't hide the nervous anticipation she felt about the inevitable conversation still waiting between mother and daughter. There was love beneath the silence, but healing would require both of them to confront difficult emotions they had been avoiding. Not long afterward, Kat joined Naomi and Chelsea following her own conversation with Deanna at Orphe Jeans. With patience and genuine understanding, Naomi managed to help the cousin besties finally work through their differences, bringing an emotional peace that had been missing for far too long. Watching their friendship begin to mend offered one of the week's first hopeful moments, reminding everyone that sometimes honest communication could repair even the deepest misunderstandings. At the country club, Nicole quietly pulled Danny aside after thinking carefully about everything Ted had shared with her. Danny quickly noticed how much time Nicole had been spending with Kyle lately, and she gently questioned whether Nicole truly understood what that meant. Nicole admitted she didn't want to lead Carlton on if her heart wasn't completely certain, revealing just how conflicted she remained. Her emotions had become increasingly difficult to untangle, and every decision seemed capable of hurting someone she genuinely cared about. The uncertainty hanging over her love life continued growing heavier with every passing day. While Nicole struggled with matters of the heart, Andre found himself making several important visits across town. He first stopped at Orphe Jeans to spend time with Kat before making his way to the hospital, where Ted and Shanice encouraged him to participate in Tia Allen's upcoming interview. Andre remained hesitant, still deeply uncomfortable with exposing his private life, but Danny's enthusiasm made it increasingly difficult to refuse. Ted calmly reassured him that everything would be manageable, helping ease at least some of his concerns. Before their conversation ended, Ted and Shanice shared another joyful announcement, revealing they had fully realized they were in love and would soon leave together for a romantic trip. Andre's smile came naturally as he celebrated their happiness, sincerely thrilled to see them embracing this exciting new chapter together. Meanwhile, Eva's day took an unexpected turn after completing physical therapy with Shanice. She interviewed Kyle's son Noah for the open general manager position at the free clinic, hoping to find someone fully committed to the role. Noah honestly admitted that although he wanted the opportunity, music still remained his greatest passion. His honesty impressed Eva, but it also left her uncertain about whether he was truly the right fit. Before she could reach a final decision, Leslie unexpectedly entered the room, immediately recognizing something special in Noah's potential. Without hesitation, Leslie hired him on the spot, completely changing the course of Noah's day and opening an exciting new opportunity for his future. Elsewhere, surprising reunions quietly blossomed. Isaiah crossed paths with Deanna at Orphe Jeans, and both quickly realized they already knew one another from their time at Banneker. Later, he invited Eva to meet him at Uptown, the very place where their own story had first begun. At the same time, Noah encountered Deanna once again, finally repaying every dollar he owed her along with interest. That gesture of responsibility paved the way for something much more personal as Noah gathered the courage to ask Deanna out on a date. What had once been unfinished business suddenly transformed into the possibility of an entirely new romance. The day's final surprise arrived when Leslie confidently approached Nicole and Danny's table with exciting news. She proudly announced that Kyle's son had officially been hired to manage her clinic, but true to form, she couldn't resist taking another pointed jab at Nicole's increasingly complicated love life. This time, however, Nicole refused to simply absorb the criticism. With calm confidence, she fired back by revealing that Ted and Shanice were deeply in love, effectively silencing Leslie's attempt to embarrass her. The exchange ended with emotions running high, proving once again that in Fairmont Crest, even ordinary conversations could quickly transform into unforgettable battles of pride, love, and truth. As the middle of the week arrived, hope quietly found its way into a place that had become all too familiar with fear. Anita completed her very first radiation treatment, and to everyone's surprise, she emerged wearing a smile instead of exhaustion. Rather than allowing the weight of her diagnosis to define the day, she chose to celebrate every small victory, embracing the precious gift of simply moving forward. Her uplifting spirit spread quickly through the Dupree family, and before long, word traveled that she wanted everyone to gather at Uptown for an impromptu celebration. It was more than just a family get-together. It became a heartfelt reminder that even in the face of illness, joy could still be chosen, laughter could still fill the room, and love could still become the strongest medicine of all. Long before Anita arrived, Uptown had already begun filling with familiar faces and intertwining stories. Naomi, Chelsea, and Kat settled into conversation about Chelsea and Madison's wedding plans, allowing dreams of the future to briefly outweigh the burdens they had been carrying. Soon afterward, Deanna and Noah arrived for their eagerly anticipated date, each quietly wondering where this promising connection might lead. Across town, Jacob stopped by to check on Smitty, whose injured ankle had slowed him down, but certainly hadn't dimmed his determination. Smitty proudly revealed that his editor had submitted his articles for one of journalism's most prestigious press awards, a moment that filled Jacob with genuine admiration and reminded them both that perseverance often brought unexpected rewards. Meanwhile, life continued unfolding elsewhere as Nicole, Danny, Vanessa, Andre, and Kial enjoyed time together at the country club, while Martin spent precious moments visiting his beloved grandparents, seeking comfort in the familiar warmth of family. At the hospital, however, another emotional confrontation was quietly brewing. Leslie finally came face to face with Ted after learning he had fallen deeply in love with Shanice, and she struggled to understand how everything had changed so completely. With raw vulnerability, she questioned why Ted couldn't see what she believed had always been standing right in front of him. Ted chose honesty over false comfort, even though he knew his words would hurt. He gently but firmly admitted that what they had shared had never truly been love, explaining that their relationship had existed largely because it had been convenient for both of them at the time. Those words landed with heartbreaking force, leaving Leslie devastated as she realized the future she had imagined had never truly existed in Ted's heart. Still carrying that emotional wound, Leslie later crossed paths with Vanessa at the country club, where another difficult conversation quickly erupted. Vanessa refused to sugarcoat the truth, urging Leslie to stop chasing a man whose heart clearly belonged to someone else. Her advice came from a place of honesty rather than cruelty, but Leslie wasn't ready to hear it. Instead, she stubbornly clung to the hope that somehow everything could still change. The exchange ended without resolution, leaving both women frustrated and highlighting just how dangerous it could be to hold on to love that had already slipped away. Back at Uptown, fate orchestrated another unexpected reunion when Eva and Isaiah arrived without realizing nearly the entire Dupree family had gathered there. Their entrance instantly changed the atmosphere, particularly for Kat, whose displeasure was impossible to hide. Despite the tension, another emotional breakthrough quietly unfolded nearby as Naomi and Danny finally sat down for the heartfelt conversation they had both been postponing. Danny offered her daughter unwavering support, reassuring Naomi that no matter what challenges lay ahead, she would never face them alone. Their emotional exchange became one of the evening's most touching moments, proving that even strained relationships could begin healing when pride gave way to unconditional love. Not far away, Andre caught up with Ashley and happily celebrated the exciting news that Grayson was now officially her boyfriend, allowing another joyful milestone to brighten an already emotional gathering. Elsewhere during the celebration, several other conversations quietly shaped the future. Smitty and Kat shared an intense discussion centered around Lynette Wise, revisiting complicated issues that still lingered beneath the surface. At the same time, Keel couldn't help noticing Noah spending time with Deanna and quietly wondered whether he should be concerned about where that relationship might be heading. Nicole laughed and teased that Vanessa would probably be asking the exact same questions if she had witnessed the scene herself. Eventually, Anita gathered everyone's attention, thanking each person for standing beside her during one of the most challenging chapters of her life. Raising her glass with quiet gratitude, she delivered a heartfelt toast that left many eyes glistening with emotion before the celebration gave way to music, laughter, and dancing. For one beautiful evening, fear stepped aside as family, friendship, and hope filled every corner of the room. Morning arrived with an entirely different kind of surprise. Nicole and Kiel woke together in bed, sharing a moment of quiet intimacy before their privacy was abruptly shattered by Danny's unexpected arrival. Catching them together left little room for misunderstanding, and once the initial shock settled, Danny and Nicole sat down to talk honestly about both Kyle and Carlton. Danny gently suggested that Nicole's feelings for Kyle might run much deeper than she was willing to admit, encouraging her friend to stop hiding from the truth. After Kiel left for work, the conversation naturally shifted, and Danny sought Nicole's guidance about repairing her strained relationship with Naomi. Their discussion reflected how closely their lives had become intertwined, with each woman helping the other navigate love, family, and the difficult choices neither could avoid. Elsewhere, Bill continued pretending everything was under control despite becoming increasingly concerned about the troubling tremors in his hands. Haley proposed escaping to St. Bart's so she could personally take care of him away from everyone else's interference. Before they could leave, however, Naomi and Chelsea unexpectedly arrived, pleading with their father to seek treatment from Madison instead of simply disappearing on vacation. Haley immediately rejected the idea, and the disagreement escalated with startling speed. Tempers flared until Haley finally ordered Naomi and Chelsea to leave the house altogether. What hurt the sisters most wasn't Haley's hostility. It was Bill's decision to stand beside Haley, leaving Naomi and Chelsea stunned as they walked away, wondering whether their father had truly chosen someone else over them. Meanwhile, Martin and Kat enjoyed a far calmer brunch together, using the quiet morning to reflect on recent events. They discussed Kat's meaningful conversation with Smitty before admitting that despite everything both Ted and Nicole had experienced, a small part of them still secretly hoped the former couple might somehow find their way back to each other one day. It was an honest confession rooted not in reality but in affection for the history they had all shared. Back at the hospital, love seemed to be blooming everywhere except where heartbreak had recently taken root. Ashley and Shanice celebrated the happiness they had found, while Ted and Shanice eagerly finalized plans For their romantic vacation to New York, Andre joined them to discuss Ted's carefully planned dinner, but his innocent remarks unexpectedly awakened painful memories that he had fought hard to bury. Though he tried not to let those emotions show, the reminder lingered beneath the surface, quietly proving that even joyful occasions could awaken ghosts from the past. Later, Martin expressed sincere gratitude toward Kyle for rushing to help Smitty after his injury, thanking him by presenting tickets to a Washington Commanders game as a gesture of appreciation. The lighthearted moment quickly turned awkward when Shanice boldly asked Kyle the question everyone else had been wondering but had carefully avoided asking. Were he and Nicole actually in love? Neither Ted nor Andre intended to overhear the conversation, but both found themselves listening as Kyle calmly insisted that he and Nicole shared what he called a no-label relationship. His answer left plenty of room for interpretation, revealing just how uncertain even he seemed about where their connection was heading. Across town, another investigation quietly gained momentum. Kat, Chelsea, and Naomi gathered to compare everything they knew about Haley's increasingly suspicious behavior. For the first time, Naomi admitted aloud that Haley had faked her ultrasound, confirming suspicions that had haunted them for weeks. Chelsea added another disturbing piece to the puzzle after revealing she had witnessed Haley engaged in an unusually intense conversation with a man named Sammy. Danny immediately recognized the name, revealing that Sammy's real identity was Randy. As the women pieced everything together, they also filled Danny in on Bill defending Haley after Naomi and Chelsea had been thrown out of the house. Danny's fury became impossible to contain. Although Bill eventually agreed to travel to St. Bart's, he also informed Haley that they would need to have a serious discussion about the disrespect she had shown his daughters, making it clear that even his patience had limits. The week's final day opened with the consequences of those painful confrontations. After Naomi and Chelsea had gone, Bill firmly warned Haley never to disrespect his daughters again. Haley defended every one of her actions before coldly suggesting that Naomi and Chelsea should simply call ahead before visiting so she could avoid seeing them all together. With that, she stormed away, refusing to acknowledge the hurt she had caused. Naomi and Chelsea desperately begged Danny not to confront Bill, fearing another explosive argument would only make matters worse, especially considering his declining health. Danny promised she would keep Bill's condition in mind, but she refused to stay silent. When she finally met with Bill, an almost symbolic moment unfolded as her sunglasses accidentally slipped onto a nearby chair during their emotionally charged discussion. Danny openly accused him of choosing Haley over his own daughters, forcing Bill to confront painful truths he had been trying to avoid. As difficult as the conversation became, both eventually reached an understanding. Bill reassured Danny that regardless of everything happening in his life, Naomi and Chelsea would always come first in his heart. While that fragile peace settled between them, Haley quietly moved forward with a far more sinister plan. Meeting Randy at Uptown, she updated him on everything that had happened before accepting yet another dose of poison from him. Convinced this final dose would finally accomplish exactly what they wanted before leaving for St. Bart's, Haley chillingly declared that by the end of the trip, only one of them was expected to return alive. Her quiet confidence transformed the upcoming vacation from a relaxing getaway into what now appeared to be the setting for something potentially deadly. Elsewhere, tensions surfaced at the casino as Deanna confronted Joey over his increasingly questionable business dealings. Vanessa attempted to smooth over the situation before it spiraled completely out of control, but suspicions remained. Meanwhile, Naomi, Chelsea, and Kat continued investigating Haley and Randy, remaining convinced the pair were carrying on a secret affair. Later, Bill visited Naomi and Chelsea personally, explaining the compromise Haley had proposed and asking his daughters to cooperate for everyone's sake. Though reluctant, they finally agreed, and the difficult conversation ended with an emotional family embrace that offered a rare glimpse of unity amid the growing chaos surrounding them. The mysteries surrounding Randy continued to deepen elsewhere as Deanna unexpectedly encountered him at Orphe Jean's before later meeting Kat regarding her condominium. Not long afterward, Joey informed Randy that his assignment to get close to Deanna had officially come to an end because she no longer represented any kind of threat. The revelation quietly exposed yet another hidden layer of manipulation operating beneath the surface, leaving unanswered questions about what game had truly been unfolding all along. As the week drew to its dramatic close, one final moment perfectly captured the rivalry that continued burning between Danny and Haley. Returning home, Haley noticed a pair of sunglasses resting inside the house and immediately realized they belonged to Danny. Unable to resist, she snapped a picture and texted it directly to her, believing she had scored another small victory. But miles away, while spending time with Vanessa at the club, Danny looked at the message and couldn't help smiling. Rather than becoming upset, she absolutely loved Haley's reaction, savoring every second of knowing that her forgotten sunglasses had managed to unsettle Haley far more than Haley had ever intended. As the camera slowly faded on that knowing smile, the stage was perfectly set for another explosive week where old loves, hidden agendas, dangerous conspiracies, and impossible choices would once again collide, proving that in Fairmont Crest, every ending is merely the beginning of an even greater storm waiting just over the horizon.